From NBC News, this is Today with Matt Lauer and Ann Curry, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
And welcome today on this Thursday morning. Good morning. I'm Ann Curry.
And I'm Matt Lauer. It is disturbing to see these images of dead bears, lions, and tigers, but both the police and animal activists are saying the deadly force was necessary in this case to protect human lives.
They're saying that's right, but what is being called into question is just how easy it is to own an exotic animal in certain states like Ohio. Could this tragedy have been avoided? Should more be done to clamp down on the practice? We're going to have the very latest on this straight ahead.
Also, police carry out an exhaustive search at the home of that missing baby out in Kansas City, walking out with X-ray after X-ray. Did investigators hit on something that could lead them to Lisa Irwin? We'll have details from the scene, and we'll talk to the private investigator who's now working with the family.
And also, just this morning, French President Nicolas Sarkozy is confirming that his wife, Carla Bruni, gave birth to a baby girl last night. So we're going to get his comments about that special delivery. He didn't want to announce the name. He said he wants to give his wife that pleasure.
That's always a smart idea, but let's begin with that dangerous animal roundup out in Ohio. NBC's Stephanie Gosk is in Zanesville this morning. Stephanie, good morning.
Good morning, Matt. The numbers are shocking. 18 Bengal tigers, 17 lions, 6 black bears. You know, people in this community have been complaining about Terry Thompson's farm for years, but this issue of exotic pets, they are on the rise across the U.S. And today, because of this incident, those laws are now under very, very close scrutiny. Just a bit of a warning, as you mentioned, these images you're about to see are very disturbing. The warnings went out early. Big wild animals that have no business roaming rural Ohio were on the loose.
That is a bear.
The 911 dispatch in Zanesville started getting some unusual calls.
Yeah, there's a lion on Mount Perry Road.
I'm pretty sure I just saw a wolf.
We live next to Terry Thompson, and there's a bear and a lion out.
Police say just before he took his own life, Terry Thompson set more than 50 animals from his private zoo free. To protect the small town, the sheriff and his deputies, armed with assault rifles, killed almost all of them, leaving behind disturbing images of carnage.
Mountain lions and African lions, and I think 3 bears. One of the bears charged the deputy, and the deputy shot it.
We don't go to the academy and get trained on how to deal with 300-pound Bengal tigers.
The dead animals are all being buried at the farm. Only 6 were tranquilized and brought to the local zoo.
Because it's a tragedy for the animal world, is what it is. It could have been a bigger tragedy for the human world, and that's what we tried to avoid here.
Bengal tigers, lions, bears, exotic animals like these are easier to get than ever before. Most can be bought online for very little money. This website lists 600 different animals for sale.
In the United States today, there are thousands of people who keep exotic animals as pets. Globally, the market trade of creatures is a $20 billion a year industry.
Most states either ban or heavily regulate exotic pets, but the Humane Society says 12 states have almost no regulations at all, including Ohio. A new documentary shot in Ohio takes a look at the lure of exotic pets and the danger.
You could buy a tiger, but you can't buy common sense.
11's clearing route.
The film profiles a police officer whose friend was mauled by a pet bear and a lion owner struggling to handle his beloved cats.
It's like one of my own kids.
And when you look at both of those when it comes to raising, exotic animals as pets, especially with people who have very limited experience with it, you get the overwhelming feeling that this isn't going to work out well.
In Zanesville, it didn't. The police prevented a human tragedy, but at a very high price. Later on today, Ohio Governor John Kasich is going to be giving a press conference. His office is under a lot of pressure to change the law. They are reevaluating a proposed ban on exotic pets that would have prevented this incident. Matt.
All right, Stephanie Gosk out in Ohio for us this morning. Steph, thank you so much. Scott Shoemaker knows a lot about exotic animals. He owns a 10-acre preserve in Nevada that's home to more than 30 animals, including tigers, bobcats, and a lion. Scott, good morning to you.
Good morning.
You must have had a visceral reaction to what you saw unfolding in Zanesville, Ohio on Wednesday. What were your thoughts?
I couldn't believe that somebody would actually do that to their animals. He just basically set them up to be killed.
Obviously, the police in this case were trying to walk a fine line, balancing public safety with the desire to try to protect these animals. But as we know, most of the animals had to be killed. Did they have any other choice?
From what I understand, they really didn't. They were dealing with a lot of animals and a short time constraint due to daylight. And the weather was a factor also. I'm not going to try and second guess the guy on the scene. He made a decision, and he basically did what he felt he had to do.
You said a second ago you can't believe somebody would set his animals up to be killed. Should this guy have been allowed to run this preserve in the first place, given his track record, given the fact that he was convicted of animal abuse charges in the past?
It sounds to me is that they didn't enforce the animal abuse laws, and they didn't shut him down. He just got out of prison, and I don't understand how he was able to keep his animals staying in prison.
You obviously run a private preserve. I'm looking at a tiger there next to you. According to the Humane Society, 12 states ban the private possession of exotic animals. 28 states have restrictions. 12 states have almost none. So the question a lot of people are asking, do animals like these, exotic and dangerous animals, should they be in private hands, in private preserves?
I don't see any reason why not. If you take into account the welfare of the animal and public safety, there should be no reason why you can't have them. We've gone through extensive means of coordinating with local emergency services, have a plan in place. We've had animal control out here, showing them how we're set up, training them on the handling of the animals, what to do in case of an emergency. And that's the way to be responsible.
Yeah, but you talk about in case of an emergency. Do people in the community have a right to say, we don't want to bear the burden of the fallout if something goes terribly wrong at one of these facilities?
Well, that goes back to if something goes terribly wrong, the person that is usually affected by it is the owner or a handler.
Well, but in this case, these animals went out into the wider community. Schools had to be closed down. People were told to stay in their homes.
Well, I understand that, but I've never heard of an exotic animal owner deliberately setting all his animals free.
All right, Scott Shoemaker out in Nevada this morning. Scott, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Such a tragedy that so many beautiful animals had to be killed. Anyway, let's get a check of the morning's other top stories.